Okay, so we normally talk about hi-fi gear on this channel, but today I want to talk about the furniture we use to house that hi-fi gear. And I've got 3 furniture suggestions for you, 2 of which I think many people would consider affordable. And none of these were designed with hi-fi in mind, they just happen to fit our hi-fi gear.
This episode is brought to you by AudioQuest. With products to fill every need and prices to suit every budget, AudioQuest is made for you. Visit AudioQuest.com for more information.
Now, before we can get to those suggestions, I need to give you some context, like a backstory. So basically, when I moved to Berlin in 2016, I started out with a dedicated hi-fi rack called the Podium Slimline, and that was made by the UK's hi-fi racks, and it cost me about €500, and I bought it because I'd enjoyed a Podium reference in Australia which cost me well over €1,500. But I later bought another Podium reference for use in Berlin, but this time out I put it on wheels, and I've still got it, but now it's in my cellar. Before I put that in the cellar, I graduated to a double wide version of the Podium reference, and that's in white, that's also in wheels, and that's serving in my office upstairs here in Portugal. But over the years, I've found the cable visibility, so the cables dangling down the back of the hi-fi rack, increasingly irritating. And very few dedicated hi-fi racks help us sort of make our cables invisible or hide them or even route them more elegantly, not that I've seen anyway. And this was the main reason I switched to using more everyday furniture in real life and in my videos. And the second reason was that hi-fi furniture or dedicated hi-fi furniture, it often looks kind of like specialist nerdy furniture, doesn't it? And it's harder to integrate it into more normal living spaces. Although I wouldn't necessarily call this room a normal living space with all the acoustic treatments, but even so, I want things to look as, believe it or not, as normal as possible and as attractive as possible without compromising on acoustics. And I think the change in furniture doesn't really affect that at all. And the third reason I moved to more normal furniture, as we shall see, is money. Now, long-time viewers of this channel will know that since 2019, I have been using dedicated hi-fi racks, so dedicated hi-fi furniture, alongside regular pieces of furniture. And those same regular viewers will also know that I've been through 3 different sideboards in the past 5 years in Berlin. Now, one of them I gave away to a YouTube subscriber, and the other 2 have been redeployed in my Berlin apartment. And I've also used IKEA's Kallax sort of on and off, both in Germany and here in Portugal. And I do that because it's the global standard for affordable vinyl storage and also half-width components, which is what I use to coin the term Kallaxify. But I think after a while, Kallax can start to look a bit cheap, especially when supporting amps and DACs and things like that sell for many times Kallax's asking price. So for me, the best version of the Kallax is the 4x1 with the 2 additional slots on top. I've been using one here in Portugal since January, and I've had all manner of amps and DACs and CD players doing time in those 2 extra slots on top. But last week, I made some significant changes to the furniture I use here for hi-fi anyway, and those decisions were based upon the furniture that I now use in Berlin. And you might have seen it in some of our recent videos. And many of you in the comments have been asking about the large beige sideboard that now sits between my loudspeakers in Berlin. Now that's something called a USM Haller sideboard, although confusingly, some resellers call it a lowboard. But anyway, it's made in Switzerland, it's a European design icon, it goes back decades, and importantly, it's modular. So I have 2 replacement top plates waiting in the wings should I scratch one? Now the USM Haller sideboard or lowboard is 1.5 meters wide, and I can comfortably fit 2 full width components on top of the USM Haller, and then 2 more in the slots below that top plate, where the height limit, I think I measured it at 17.5 centimeters. Now, as a reminder, a full width hi-fi component is 43 centimeters or thereabouts across the front, right? It's 43 centimeters wide. Now, the drop-down doors on the front of the USM Haller sideboard obscure storage spaces that are tall enough and deep enough for a row of vinyl records. But stupidly, I didn't film any B-roll of this, and now I'm in Portugal, so I can't, so sorry. But the unit's depth is only 38 centimeters, so it might not accommodate some of the bigger amps and DACs that you have and I have. So to kind of solve that problem, I use an isolation platform from Acoustics. I think it's called the Zazen 1. I think I've got a Zazen 1 and a Zazen 2, but it's not really important what that is really, more so that the feet are offset, so they don't go right to the edge. So when I put one on top of the USM Haller, it extends the depth of the unit by an extra couple of centimeters, which are crucial really to get most of the gear that I want on there. And especially crucial when I'm putting a turntable on top, because I want to keep vibrations away from that turntable because the USM Haller is made of metal. So the USM Haller unit's depth and its construction materials are 2 compromises to keep in mind. But I am not going to step on the landmine of dedicated audio furniture sounding better than regular furniture in this video. I'll leave that to people commenting below. And another downside of the USM Haller is its price, because in its drop-down door configuration, it sells for roughly 1,700 euros. And that price is why I don't yet have a USM Haller in this room. Well, actually, there's another reason. Because in Germany, I can get a USM Haller delivered to my door within 3 days of ordering. But here in Portugal, the lead time is 6 weeks. But also available within a few days of ordering is our second furniture choice today. And that is called the IKEA BAGGBODA, which I think sounds like something from Lord of the Rings. Now this is, I think, a vintage styled piece of furniture, and its tubular, I can never say that. Its tubular metal frame supports a pair of very wide and very deep storage shelves, so you won't really have any issues with component depth or width on this bit of furniture. And the BAGGBODA sells for a very, very affordable 69 euros. I'll say that again, 69 euros. But availability on the BAGGBODA can vary. And at time of taping, it was sold out across Germany. But it's easily available here in Portugal. So I have 1 unit in Berlin and 2 here in Lisbon. But I don't just like the BAGGBODA's price. I like that the lower shelf is tall enough to fit a Cambridge Edge pre-power combo with a little bit of space to spare in the top and plenty of space to spare on the sides. Now I've measured the internal shelf height here and it comes in at 29 centimeters. So I think you should be good for a couple of components there. And below the lower shelf, there's room for an AudioQuest PowerQuest 303 power conditioner. And then on top, there's enough surface area to fit a FIO R9, a Moondrop CD player, and then sounding the hipster alarm, a Noguchi lamp. Now that's my Berlin setup. Here in Lisbon, I have a Technics turntable on top of the BAGGBODA. But I think my best find this year has been something called a dark wood side table from Zara Home. And you've really got to check out those curved corners because I think they look fantastic. Now, the 2 internal shelf spaces are wide enough for a full width hi-fi component, and I think in some cases those shelves will be tall enough for 2 stacked components. So the internal shelf height isn't listed on the Zara Home website, but I've measured it at 25 centimeters. And there's also room on top for a turntable albeit with a depth limitation of 35 centimeters. And again, I use an isoacoustics isolation platform to add a couple of extra centimeters so I can fit, well, in Berlin, a Torrens TD124 turntable on top, and that works just fine. But here comes the irony here. The isoacoustics isolation platform that I use sells for as much money as the Zara Home side table itself. So in Germany, I bought mine for 250, and in Portugal, I think it was 200. Yeah, I'm talking euros here. And I bought one in each country, and both arrived within 3 days of ordering. So in the context of dedicated hi-fi furniture, I think even 250 is a bargain. The only thing I don't like about the Zara Home piece is the kind of open area at the bottom, because it exposes the cables and the power adapter on the floor. But in time, I'll add another AudioQuest power board to sort of plug that hole and obscure those cables. But one point here is that these bits of furniture, they might not hide our cables, but we're also not paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars to house our hi-fi gear in an attractive way. Anyway, if you like this video, you know what to do, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this one, and tell us what you use to organize and display your hi-fi hardware in the comment section below. And as always, thank you ever so much for watching. Now, the USM Haller's depth and its construction materials, I think, are two compromises to keep in mind. But I'm not going to step on the landmine of dedicated audio furniture sounding better than regular audio furniture.